What's up? Crowie here, wiggity, wiggity, miggity, miggity, coming at ya. Coming live at ya. What are you doing? Having a coffee? You on site? Am I on your AirPod? Am I on your computer? What's the temperature? You got the Sean Paul, the right temperature? Who knows? Is that a right temperature? Who knows? Sean Paul certainly thinks he knows. And I'll back that guy. I'll die for that guy on a hill. What a great time to be alive. Sean Paul. Sean Paul, everybody, Sean Paul. All right, chatting today about quote follow-ups. Quote follow-ups. Now, here's the thing. Quote follow-ups. Oh, I remember... automation is great. We live in a fantastic world of automation, and I'm not discounting that, but I do think there is a time and a place, a great time and a place, a great place. I do think the personal touch, touching base with people, breaking bread with people, I think it really matters. So there's a huge, huge difference. I remember I was reaching out to someone for a product, and I was chatting to this guy who's the boss, and it's a pretty big dog company, you might say, and a company that, you know, people would love to work with. And he's a friend of a friend, you might say. Never met this guy personally, and see the stuff online, and you're like, oh yeah, fire it, like looks good. And then, but it's still a bit salesy for me. I don't really love that stuff. But I was like, oh maybe. And then, anyway, so I was like, I got, like, you know when you sign up and they send you something, and I was like, watch this like 10-minute video, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh yeah, like okay, and then I sent him an email saying, I was like, what do you think? Because heaps of the email sequence follow-up was like, hey Greg, don't miss your opportunity. It's always like the last chance. The world's always ending. There's always some kind of sale. And I'm just like, I was just reiterating the whole time how much I hate this stuff. Like I hate email sequences telling you you're going to miss out, telling you there's limited spots, telling you I've opened this stuff up. And I was just like, oh, okay, so I emailed it over, going, oh, hey, like, you know, I'm friends with my mate. Here you guys know each other well. I'd love to come up and take you out for lunch, and I've got an idea, and tell me what you think like about this. And this is kind of like as I was starting out my own, and then this email came back like, hey Greg, great to hear from you. You know, it was really nice, and signed off on the person's name. And we went back and forth a few times, and then some things just like weren't feeling right. So back and forth a few times, and then an email eventually came back and said, oh hey Greg, it's not the person in question. It's actually like Emma, and I'm in sales. And I was just like, my whole body just went like, what do you mean? Like, you've been writing emails, like 5 back and forth emails from this person's email address under this person's name, not even signing off Emma. I haven't even seen the word Emma. I've only seen this person's name after every sign off. And I was just like, I've had enough. And it was honestly in that moment, I knew we had something special as a coaching industry. Like, I knew Sparky Coach had something special within the coaching industry. Like, I was just watching this thing going like, this genuinely sucks for the end user to be pushed out to automation, to be pushed out for someone that you think you're talking to someone, but you're talking to someone else. It was just like, wow, this actually sucks. Like this, I don't want to be a part of this. And I was like, I want to create a coaching company that is different, that has moral standards, and that's why at Sparky Coach we literally no level goes without a one-on-one session, because we're not trying to just get people in a funnel, and the more people, the more money. It's not like that. It's like we want to see people get help they need, and you can do that via a combination of group and one-on-ones, but I don't think you can get where you need to get to. This is my personal opinion. I don't think you can get where you need to get to without some one-on-one help. I know many coaching companies will tell you otherwise, and I'd like to see what they're paying for. I'd like to see the help they're paying for, because for the love of God, they're not going into a group without a one-on-one. I just don't see that happening. There'll be one-on-one happening somewhere, whether it's peer-to-peer or whether it's like a proper like actual coach. So anyway, I was watching it going like, this automation process is giving me the creeps. It's just and it's interesting, you know, seeing people. You can set up on your job management system or via Lana. I'm not against like automation. I actually love the concept of simplicity and making the mundane sort of just making sure the mundane stuff's happening. Like a text upon arrival. I'm not talking about here. I'm talking specifically quote follow-ups. I'm talking specifically when someone reaches out to you and you send a quote. I'm a massive believer on the personal touch. A massive believer on the personal touch. So I think whether it's you or your admin team or your person who quoted it, I'm a massive believer that if you're quoting something up and it's a bit different or a bit more expensive than what I think, or you've got an option for it, or you need to explain something, I would just quick call before you send it and be like, hey, I've about to send this over. It's all prepared. Just wanted to let you know that there's X, Y, Z, or, this is a little bit different to what we thought. I'm aware we can't get down there. This part number doesn't come in, so I've got to use this part number. I know I said 20 grand, but it's going to be more like 24 because of this. I'm expecting it to go to here, but it could go to here. Here's it's an anomaly or a variable situation or something outside the ordinary, or you just want to explain why it's 30 grand or just whatever. Like it doesn't have to. I'm not asking you to break your price down. I'm asking you to just make the phone call to the client, and then I would always, if you didn't have to do that, I would always text upon sending, because how many times is a quote gone to someone's spam mail? And I think so often as business owners, you just send that quote, you get that dopamine hit of tick box list, little bird on your to-do list flies away. I'm getting through my to-do list, but it's like you're doing the hard thing easy and the easy thing hard. So you're getting the quote back, but if there's no follow-up process, then what's the point? You get the clients that just go, yeah, sweet, all good, approved. You also get the clients like what I do sometimes. She's like, oh, I'll just put that in, I'll flag that and I'll get to it later. When is later? There's a very, very, very good question, right? So it's like, I'm a massive believer, text or call upon sending. Like I said, doesn't have to be you, can be your admin team. And then what's a good time after that? Maybe you call again 2 days later, check in a couple of days later, check in 5 days later, whatever. But I want to encourage you, it's just the automated process for a late payment works a treat. Hey, invoice overdue. Hey, invoice overdue. Hey, invoice overdue. And then you've got to sometimes pick up the phone and the big dog's got to make some big calls, or the admin team's got to make some big calls, whatever. But there is an element of that additional phone call, that additional care. Like I said, what are you actually selling? Like you're selling peace of mind here. People are buying peace of mind. People are buying the fact that they're thorough, they're organized, they've got this. I'm in safe hands here, right? So a bit of extra TLC in the sales process and the buying process is going to actually mean that the client is now just like, we're in this together. You know what I mean? So I would just encourage everyone to, no matter what your philosophy, peg it back and be like, it's you see people all the time, like sometimes you just got to go to site. And I think it's funny because if you are really quiet and someone calls you for a job, you'll probably drive the site, because once you're in person, your conversion rate probably moves up a lot, because people are buying you at a certain stage of business, your expertise, your knowledge, or your staff members' expertise or knowledge, or how you conduct things, or options for things, or pathways for things, or solutions for things, right? And you're talking about this whole thing. And I think that personal touch goes a long way. So if you're really busy, you're trying not to go to site because it wastes time. But if you're really quiet, you're trying to go to site because there's a higher chance, there's a higher percentage play that you'll win the job, and you want to do everything in your pathway to get the job. Now, there's a stage of business, I'm a big believer, where you just need to get people off the phone as quick as you can and land the job. That's probably going to be like a cost estimation stage of business, where you're at that 2 to 3 people, where you give them ranges and you're just trying to land it and then move on. Then after that point, you want to make sure your price book's completely well and truly built out, and so cleanly and so easily that an admin person or like untrained person can get trained, or an unskilled person can get trained in that process of 4 of these. Yeah, is there this? Is there that? Has there been this? Would you consider that? Okay, sweet, price is going to be here, subject to a couple of site things, but it's going to be pretty close. So it's like you can train that process, and anytime you're in the quote, but there's an element of person to person that is very, very, very important, right? It's the same reason cold calling. I'm not saying cold calling sucks, although it does suck to do, but cold calling will land 2 or 3 people in 100. Probably, maybe like around that 4%. So the general rule of thumb with cold calling is that, you know, you make 20 phone calls, you get 4 kind of people going, oh yeah. 4 people like kind of listening, and you might get 1 person across the board. Like that's a low percentage play. That is legit a 5% percentage play, but it's better than nothing, right? But in my opinion, the best thing to do if you're in that stage of wanting to go to the business is try and meet some new people. Try and go to site and touch base with people. Chuck some switchboard stickers in there. Talk to people that you know that you could have opportunities to work with, or you know their friends of a friend work here or there or everywhere. Just chat to people. Join a BNI, join Fresh or BX or something. Just put yourself in a position to meet people. Volunteer at something. Get involved in a church if you're super religious. Get involved in a community basketball something, or play cricket or play footy, or go join your board riders. Just put yourself in a position where you can meet some new people, because if your product's good and your people skills are there and your numbers are right, you'll do some excellent things in business. But make it about people. Make it about people. Your product is about the customer journey. So the customer just getting fobbed off on the phone or getting sent a quote, and then the follow-up via email to close out, it might just not cut it, and it might not be what you want in your business. I would just encourage you guys to, wherever you're at, take that extra time with the quote. If you're on site and it's a switchboard upgrade, just be like, yes, sweet, look at this, here's a price book, you know, $1,500 to $1,700. Okay, best case, worst case, okay, $1,750. We can do that next Wednesday. What do you think? Or if it's a major board upgrade, it might be like $5,000, whatever, depending on what state you're in, and depending on if you need a level 2 or an ergon or a truck appointment, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, the more you know the prices, the more confident you will seem. The more your job costs, the more you know your prices. The more you know the prices, the more confidence comes across. The more the confidence comes across, the more trust the customer will have in you, because you seem like you know what you're doing. And this is where, don't ever get weird about sharing intellectual property about like, oh, I would do the job like this, because the client's actually probably buying you or buying your team or buying your team's ideas. And it's like, it's that peace of mind they're getting by solutions-based, problem-solving people that puts you in an upper echelon market. And one of the things you see a lot at this time is people getting fearful about like recessions and stuff, and oh, I've got to do it the cheapest price and trying to skim overheads and bits and pieces. I want to encourage you, in a world that's going south, go north. In a world that's going south towards like cheaper and nastier and more cost effective, why don't you go north? Why don't you go better? Why don't you go put yourself in a different market? I'll tell you why. Because that top tier market, they don't go through recessions, right? Those big commercial clients, that big developer, that big person over here, whatever, the person with money, a recession doesn't really affect them. It doesn't affect them at all. Well, it might affect them a little bit, but they're still living life as relatively normal. And what's going to happen is they will see times like this as an opportunity. And that's who you want to be partnered with. You want to be partnered with people that see opportunity. So in a world that's sort of going south, don't take your mind there. Don't take your mind to the gutter. Get out of the gutter and watch the sunset, right? That's what you want to do. So what kind of company do you want to be? You didn't want to be that person bashing homes for the cheapest price possible, right? Are those people out there? Yes. Are they going to last? No. Are they going to last? No. Are you going to last? Depends what you choose. So I would basically encourage you to set the bar a little bit higher. Have confidence in that sales quoting process. We're not the cheapest. We're not trying to be the cheapest. There's cheaper coffees out there. You can go to 7-Eleven and get a coffee for $1, right? But I pay $5 for my filter coffee every single morning from the local place that I love to go to. I love the experience. I love the product. The product is good. The product is good. The product is good. So in a world that's looking for cheap, nasty, fast, why don't you go different? Why don't you see yourself different? That's what you got to do in business. You've got to set yourself above the clients, because it set your reputation high. You go back and fix things. We'll go over and above. That's built into our quote. We're not going to charge for that. If, you know, obviously, like, charge if you have to charge. I'm not saying that. I've got a big rule on charging. If you make a conscious decision to not charge for something, I'm cool with it. But if you're just doing it because you're insecure and you can't have that conversation, I'm not cool with it. You need to change that. So in a world that's going south, go north. In a world that's going into AIs and bots and like, I'm not saying there's not a place for that. I'm not saying there's not a place for that. But there'll always be a place for good old-fashioned customer service. If those bots, if that AI is making that service better, then that's great. But if it's taking away from it, then you need to check yourself before you rickety, you know the rules, wreck yourself. So in a world that's going impersonal, why don't you try and go personal? Why don't you try that? Try that. Let me know how you go. Peace.